know, last year, one of the pieces of feedback at the end of the conference was, so what? So what? So we've all come here, we've shared all this insight, you know, all these answers, all the, what are we going to do? And so I do have some slides I'm going to show you in regards to what the GenWell Project wants to ask for your support on. But I want to know what you guys think we should all be doing. You know, as we come out of here, what are the next steps to build a more connected Canada in any channel? In general population, in workplaces, communities, classrooms? What should we be doing next? That's actually a question. Yeah, Kim.
I really like the idea of having a GenWell alumni.
GenWell alumni. So champions, like we talked about last night, getting people more deeply involved.
A way for us to stay connected, a way for us to share, whether that's like a portal on your website or monthly newsletter or a prompt for us to respond to with a hashtag.
Where's Bobby? Is she in here listening to this? Bobby! Anyway, yes, I love it. Thank you. That's. We should have a portal and a prompt so people can engage with us. Oh, chocolate eating fudge brownie. Sorry. Anybody, any other? That's awesome, Kim. And we do have a Champions program. We just kicked it off this year, but honestly, with basically myself and Bobby, we just haven't had time. But now that we have some resources, we can hire some people. Helly.
Wouldn't it be fun to play telephone across Canada?
Play telephone across Canada.
See how long it takes. Like on a Saturday morning, you start us, or someone starts us on the West Coast, like on the island, and then we see how quickly a text can get or something can get from one coast to the other. We have to start on the other coast. Absolutely, because of time.
Details, Kim. Details. I love it. I'm the same.
Just a way to connect. I don't know, something like that. That just brings awareness of this project to people.
Love it. Let's keep ideate.
Connected to Kimberly's suggestion, one thing I found to be really supportive from a conference that I was involved with for many years was they set up a WhatsApp group, or you could set up some sort of a chat group, doesn't have to be WhatsApp, that had huge engagement for years, like with over 200 participants in it. And more people would join, share resources. Of course, there's boundaries in there and rules about not promoting your own stuff, but something like that could.
I love WhatsApp because it's so immediate for me. Even texts I don't get to quite as often as I get to my WhatsApp. Maybe what we'll do as a follow-up to this conference is we'll send out a note, opt in. Anybody can do whatever they want, but I think it's a great idea, Tony. Whether it's to support each other, whether it's to let us know that you're in, or whatever it is you need support on, because I think we're all in this together. And practice space to do it for ourselves, because I know this has been a very lonely journey for me over 7 years. So I think it's a great idea. So we'll follow up with. I see Steve in the back.
I'm actually just going to ask for potential help. As you guys know, I care a lot about the education system, and along with Adam and Kiffer and Pete, we're doing some work at the university level to try to make students better understand the importance of social connection and to skill development. But again, I think this needs to be done at the primary level, not at the university level. I don't know, I would like to work with people who know how to talk to politicians and get curriculum items added and things like that. I don't know any of that world. But if there are others here who know that world, who interface with that world, if we could create some sort of team, I think that's where we have the greatest impact at this point in time. So I would love to work in that area, and if others are interested, let's get a team together and do it.
Yeah, I think the idea of building some teams within this community is a great idea, Steve, where it's, you got an idea and we want to champion something. And certainly, and I'm going to show you a few things that we're up to so that we can ask for your support, is I'd love to have anybody who's interested in being part of a team to help push things out. Would love your support. Yes, Alex?
I think we should build our own social network now.
Yeah, compete with Twitter?
It's not be that big, but I think we should have our own network.
Like a positive pro-social.
Around Facebook that I can build with you, and then it's ours.
Yeah.
And then we could put courses in there and all sorts of tools.
Well, I'm not sure if what I'll bring up here, but we may have something that could be part of that, but I'll mention that shortly. I think so. Yeah, Yvonne?
I was just going to say, I've spoken at many conferences and been in these conferences, attended, and you walk away and like, oh my God, that was so amazing, and I'm going to change the world, and then life takes you in a million different directions, and I would invite everyone to just show up, so we get there, but like put reminders in your phone and just lean into it, right? Because sometimes you leave, it's like, oh my gosh, this is too overwhelming, it's too much, and if you just lean into it and do, one thing and put remind, oh yeah, right, the human, I'm going to do this, and stay and ways to stay connected, because it's so easy to get distracted by all the other life stuff.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I speak at an annual conference for the Canadian Culinary Federation. I say, did you make 2 or 3 people that you think you have a real groove with, you really connect with? Put them in for a monthly, half an hour, 15, I don't care how long it is, but book it in the calendar. And even if you get to that date and you're busy or something, you're on the road and you can't do it, then just move it. Don't delete it. Just move it by a day, move it by 2 days. Because I think just like when we go to the gym, we put it in our calendar. To me, we need to get like that with our social connections. And I will say that, again, I'm going to talk about our Connected Conversation series, and I invite everybody here. Once a month, Bobby does an interview on Facebook. We're building a community on Facebook so that we, as the practitioners of human connection, can connect, can learn from the experts from whatever lens you see it, from grief, from mental health, from seniors, from young people, from workplace. We don't really care what lens you tell it through. We just want to tell all those lenses so people recognize it is about all of us. So I'll show you that in a second. But yeah, Franco?
Something struck me the last couple of days about how much evidence there is that this is a real health issue, not just a social issue. But most of the solutions around are through social services and social funding and charity and all this stuff. So there doesn't seem to be as much funding or very little from the health sector. So perhaps in mental health, but not. So how do we get that on that agenda to start sharing the load here with the health sector?
Hey, I think it's a great comment as a guy who's been trying to share this message for 7 years. And, first off, I started off just from happiness, and then it went into healthcare, and certainly Kathleen Killam was a part of the health piece. And now you look at, I know there's a new study out of Korea talking about random acts of violence and how they're connecting that to the disconnection coming out of the global pandemic. Steve Jordan's has written articles about mass shootings not having connection to mental health, but to loneliness. And when you start to realize the impact across everything, you wonder why, when we had that government panel, how come we're not putting millions into this issue? But I really do believe, I always use the Prime Minister as an example. If none of us in this room were ever educated on this in school, how do we expect the Prime Minister to know what we're talking about? So when Dr. Eileen Davila said we need to bottle up what's in this room, or she actually asked the question, how do we bottle it up? I think you are the bottle. We are the bottle. We are the bottle that when we go out and have these conversations every day, even more confidently now, because you've got 100 people today and yesterday behind you. It's like, no, because trust me, there was times that I'd say things to people, I'd be like, Kathleen Killam actually said to me one day in a conversation, and it was a tough day. I was like, Kathleen, people keep telling me, Pete, are you smoking drugs? Like, what are you talking about? And Kathleen said to me, Pete, who are these people that you keep talking about that keep telling you that what you're saying is crazy? And when I thought about it, it's like, these are people who have no idea what they're talking about, so why should I be questioning what I'm saying? Because I knew what the facts were. But I think coming out of this conference, I hope we all feel more comfortable and confident going, who do you want to, what lens do you want to talk through it through? Because I have the expert. I can pick them up. I have a picture on my desk, and I know Sydney, and I know Kathleen, and I know Helly, and I know Jim, and I know Kim. And where do you want them? Which part of the country? Because I got somebody from all over the country as well. And I think this is what this conference can do, is bring this community together, because that's how I think, Franco, we get that onto people's agenda, is we say, there's a movement building here, and we've got a couple hundred people who are the experts in making this happen. So, Susan, I'll go to you. Yeah.
So I have to talk through, but what I remember when I first learned about this idea, this concept, it seemed kind of amorphous.
Yeah.
But then you come into, and that's probably what we were talking, years ago, it's hard to put a word around it.
Yep.
When you come here and you hear about all the really concrete, really chewy things that people are doing, it's so easy to understand why we need to have more money going into this space. So the only thing that I can think of that might help a little bit is, could you put something on your website that lists all the people that are doing all this amazing work, so that there's this sort of concrete thing. Like, we know that there's stuff around grief, we know there's stuff that's going on in universities, we know that there are random acts of happiness, we know that people care about it from a food perspective. Maybe there's just something that, I don't know, it is either a diagram or something that shows all the work that's being done around connection, and maybe the people.
So we do have our community partners page, where any not-for-profit or charity that is interested in being part of the movement, we've got over 50, from domestic violence to mental health to everybody, to do exactly that. I think the research piece is an actually great add-on to that, which is we have our research. To be honest, we haven't had the manpower to really upload it with stuff, but I think it would make sense to have a listing of all the different research pieces and the people, so that people could find them. I think it's a great idea. Versus having to Google and go through the Google list of stuff. But yes, I think it's a great idea that we continue to, and again, sharing your stories through our social channels. We are every week, every Saturday, I think we share all of our community partners. We tell stories about the individual organizations, in order to say, you may not have thought about this through the lens of mental health or grief or whatever, but when we talk about these, the baseline of helping people either prevent it or get through it is actually building connection. So again, please reach out to us. Now that we have resources, now we have time to tell your stories a little more. So yeah, Steve.
Agree with Franco. We applied for CIHR. We thought we did a really great job trying to tie it to health. Didn't get it. Our conclusion is probably because they don't think that social connection is health. So do we have people with formal advocacy experience? I'm working with somebody else around trying to ban sports ads, sport gambling ads. And I see he's got connections with MPs, MPs are doing things. There seems to be a process that I don't understand, but there must be advocates out there who could be our voice to government, our voice to authorities who actually know how to make things happen. If we have them in our midst, I think we need to, I don't know if you, but for you, I think we need to empower those people and have them speak.
So just another add of that. I'm taking a course right now at Toronto University through the bias, and it's a leadership and policy and advocacy course. So there are great people out there that do cool things, and so I'm happy to share. I know they're going to run the forward. So, and I think that policy is a great way to drive some of the stuff.
And I will say, and sometimes I get a little rushed in my, how come we haven't changed the world yet? And I think the time is actually right now for that to happen. Michael Tabolo 3 years ago wouldn't have shown up at this conference. They would have laughed at us and said, who are you, why are you here? And he showed up. And same with Eileen Davila and other people. So I think the timing for all of us is right now in what we can accomplish. Yeah, Heather.
On that, what about a national belonging strategy where government and all of the organizations see the importance of it? And that is, and I've talked to Pete about it, that is what the Tamarack Institute wants to help lead. So if you want to be part of this national belonging strategy, that's bottom up. Community drives what the strategy looks like. Feed it up and meet public governments what we need. Human resources, financial resources, natural resources, etc. Wouldn't that, I know.
It's rallying everybody around
health issue, and public health is, as somebody who was in public health for 13 years, it's slower to move because we have mandates that have to go through this system. So it's up to us as community
Yep.
to drive.
Well, I think that's exactly, again, the policy advocation. I think the advocacy is what we're getting to now. Is these doors weren't open to us before. You guys, Tamarack's been in it for 20 years, and have you got the ear of government? Really?
20 years we started off with an idea of ending poverty.
Ending poverty. Yeah. So it's
Now has a federal poverty strategy.
yeah. So now we have to go through. I hate the 20-year learning curve for people to understand what we're talking about. Because was it yesterday, Kim? You said 20 years ago there wasn't even a word for loneliness. It was for homelessness. It was hobo. It was this, that, and the other. My, how times have changed. So very interesting.
In 1988,
Yeah.
the word homelessness was not in our vernacular.
Yes.
25 years later, so in the early 2000s, now nationally we're dealing with a homelessness crisis,
Mhm.
right? It takes 25 years for something to get into our vernacular.
Let's hope it's not 25.
No,
But I get your point. Yeah.
we've got some momentum. Like there's work. Like this conference is obvious how much work is being done.
Yeah, Dr. Vivek Murthy said that this is the greatest opportunity in our history to put this conversation on the landscape. So, nothing like a pandemic to wake people up.
The U.S. Surgeon General, right? Like he's the platform.
Totally. Yeah, Casley was kind of chuckling because Casley is working out of the U.S. now. She's from Vancouver originally, and she chuckled as to how many presentations had the U.S. Surgeon General's report in it, because frankly he is the leader globally, and it's great to have him, because from his book Together through to the framework, these are the people that we need to grab them and say, hey, like, we may not be doing anything yet here, from a government and a policy level, but people are. And Loneliness Minister Japan, and in the UK, and the Ending Loneliness Together in Australia, and the coalition in the US, and so many things are happening. We have to use those as our, we're not alone here, people, and this room. So, any other thoughts? Yes, Chris.
Yeah, so I'm very new to this space, and I've had a really great last couple of days, very inspiring, great to go research and stuff. I just kind of wonder, like, I want to encourage you to do more of this in terms of convening people.
Yeah.
But within that, I would like to suggest that there's more interaction between us, because I felt like I maybe spoke to a third of the room in the last couple of days, and I'm pretty extra, I don't mind going up to you, but like, yeah, I just feel like there's maybe it's not an opportunity missed per se, but just more in terms of maybe rethinking the way that we do these kind of conferences. And I think in terms of your ask, right, having this like this space right now, people hosting this and people calling out, I think that needs to like almost like lead the conference, so then at least there's like discussions that then we take into the breaks and stuff. And I'm probably just carrying over. I was at a social impact conference a few weeks ago in Newfoundland, and we had this exact same, like we had a real strong sort of frustration at the end. Not to say that straight here, but just
What are you saying?
I'm carrying that over to this.
Listen,
But I just feel
I'm
like
going to take you outside. And
convening, within the
my friend, I couldn't agree with you more. And I'll just tell you the honest truth. So last year, we put together 2 days very quickly on a virtual summit, and we were like, oh my God, because there's so many lenses that we were like, oh my God, we got to talk about youth and seniors, and we got to talk about digital technology and all the marginalized communities, and we got to talk about schools and how we do. And by the end of it, we were like, and John is probably chuckling wherever he is, he's sitting there going, but there's not a break between like 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. in the afternoon. It's like, yeah, don't worry about that. We'll get to that next year. And we did it again. We had over 40 people submit abstracts this year, and how many? I think we had 12 spots. And so, unfortunately, we had zero budget, as I mentioned at the start yesterday. But again, we're now at a point where, to all the conversation about, people are coming forward now. So next year when we do this, we'll have some money. So maybe we could actually rent a bigger room and have it for 3 days and put more time in there. Funny enough, yesterday, we were kicked out of here at 3 p.m. because there was an event last night. And I said to Bobby last night, that might have been the greatest thing that ever happened to us, because I've never been to a conference where 95% of the people went to the bar and started drinking at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and having a great time. That's a human connection conference right there.
When I saw it, it's great because usually those things happen afterwards, and then it's a 9 to 5 day. And people go,
Yeah. So we could have just had breakfast and then it is.
Yeah. To build that in was great, and it happened, I guess, by circumstance. But
Yeah.
I think, like, definitely keep that. But even just like encourage a bit more chats at the table. Like, even, you know, let's like break for half an hour and let's just do a walk around the block or something, and just kind of.
Which was also in the plan, but we had to cut it out because we couldn't find. So we were going to do a legacy walk around Yorkville, so we could learn about the communities that we were in. But actually, by the end of the day yesterday, I'm not sure I would have wanted to walk around anyway. But that's a whole different story. But so many great ideas, and so come back next year, and I guarantee you we'll be there. Tony, and I'm coming to you, Greg.
One thought I have in ideating about how we could, like, the what's next about this is, as you and I have spoken about, Pete, about just creating more visibility through, whether that's through social platforms or through just actual face-to-face conversations with people. One thing that each of us can do here, if you're not already subscribed to the GenWell Project newsletter, sign up to it. There's really, really fantastic content that comes. And then just speak to someone about it, or share it on your newsletter. And I'm awesome that. Because that is one way that you can amplify the message and the work of the GenWell Project. It's like all this very well thought out stuff that comes to us. You can easily pass that on.
I need my wallet. I got to pay Tony for that one. Thank you, Tony. That's ultimately, I believe we're the national awareness campaign for all the work that everybody's doing. And so I want to be everybody else's voice, and I hope you'll be our voice. Because if we can raise the consciousness of every Canadian around how important this is, whether you're selling a solution, whether you're doing speaking, whether you're doing whatever you're doing, to me, more money funds into all of our work because people recognize that what you're doing is really important. Greg.
Say, it's been a pleasure. One thing that I do want to be an advocate for, I heard it from the morning yesterday right through, is that everyone is fantastic. There's so much data, there's so much research. And I'll say it's more of the analytical mindset of myself, maybe the sales side of it, from selling data and all that, and surveys or results. At the end of the day, I can be a big advocate for actually preventive and skills. Can we make sure that out of this, that we build the tool belt, build the lab, make sure that that tool belt doesn't only have a hammer, it's got a drill, it's got a hammer, it's got some pieces. The skills that we can get out to everyone out there in Canada, so it's preventive, not at the end of it, this is what happens and here's what you need to do. It's can we continuously talk and speak about what are the skills that we need to be advocating for to get out to the marketplace. So when someone is just at the start, where do we go? Who do I speak to? There's something there that can actually help people.
Yeah, I think it's great. You know, again, I think hopefully everybody in here knows we talk about educate, empower, and catalyze at GenWell. Educate, first and foremost. If you don't understand why this is important, why would you engage with it? What are the tools? So tips, tools, and ideas. How can you start building healthier connection habits today? And as I'll show you momentarily, and I think most of you know about our GenWell weekends, we do face-to-face February, which is focused on college and university students. We have Loneliness Awareness Week. All of those are intended to be catalyzing occasions throughout the course of the year. The analogy I always use is Halloween. We all wear costumes at Halloween, but I don't see anybody in here other than Greg wearing a costume the rest of the year. And the reason is somebody gave us permission. Greg and I used to work together, so I can poke fun at him. But on one day a year, we are given permission to wear a costume. And I say, well, how come we don't wear it the rest of the year? It's because we're not given permission. If we can create these occasions that we help people understand that it is about social connection. And I also say we've hidden social connection under the guise of book clubs and wine clubs and sports teams and all the other activities, dinner clubs. It's wonderful that we do those activities, but let's make sure that we raise up to the top of the why. The food is great, and Susan and I have this conversation all the time because she leads Summer Lunch Plus, which is an amazing organization trying to give kids knowledge about good food and good cooking and good habits and good eating, but it's the combination of the food and the social connection. So it's just about raising that consciousness in everything we do that I think we really need to help people understand that as we move forward. Okay, Sarah, you had something.
This is what I do, but hold the other side of all of this. I mean, we're sitting inside of a room that is full of fiery advocacy, and the other side of that is often when we hear no, when we don't, when it takes 20 years to get the government on our side. And I just want to hold on to all of you a little bit and say that that's a big part of the work, is being able to do it anyways. And I'm happy, and I'm sure Ron is too, and I'm voluntold telling you that story. But if there is an opportunity to have a connection about the harshness of the work that you do and the harshness of advocating for the work that you do, I'm happy to do free shit left, right, and center around that.
Sarah, free shit. That's honestly, I think that's, it's the WhatsApp group for the quick check-in. It could be a gathering. Maybe we need to do this every quarter and bring everybody together. Maybe it's not in person because it gets costly, but anyway, I love the concept. And again, it could be the Facebook group, the monthly interview, which we should get you guys on. So let me just flip on to where we've got a few slides here so I can just quickly go through. I just wanted to give everybody a sense. Again, I'm trying to rally all of us together. And I think coming out of this, these 2 days, people have been saying, so what do we need to do to come together? How do we do this together? So if we can flip to the next slide. I touched on this in the opening comments. So November 20th to 26th this year is going to be Talk to a Stranger Week in Canada. And if you flip to the, and so the whole idea, this is all evidence-based. It's Dr. Julian Sandstrom out of the UK, who's an expert in talking to strangers. And also there's Nick Epley out of the University of Chicago, I think it is. And both of them have done lots of research on the power of talking to strangers. And so we've had a team of people behind the scenes that have kind of been building this stuff. And if we can flip to the next slide and play this video, which is voiced over by the one and only Bobby B.
Hey there. Do you talk to strangers? For over 50 years, people have been told not to talk to strangers. But is that really the best advice? We're not talking about places or situations where you feel unsafe. We mean talking to the neighbor a few doors up the street, the person on the bus or streetcar, or in the line at the coffee shop or grocery store. Did you know that research has actually shown that those who speak to strangers at least once a week are up to 3 times happier than those who don't speak to strangers? And that we tend to underestimate the positive impact that our connections to strangers will have on both people, such as increased happiness, trust, optimism, compassion, a sense of belonging, and reduced feelings of loneliness. And did you also know that over 90% of the time, when we speak to strangers, that both people have a positive experience? So now that you do know, would you consider talking to strangers for the first time, or even a little more than you already do? How about if we all did it together? Join all Canadians this November 20th to 26th for Talk to Strangers Week, a week when all Canadians are encouraged to talk to a stranger, because we didn't realize just how important it was for our well-being and theirs. For more information, head to www.talktostrangersweek.org. Let us know that you talk to a stranger and were part of the solution to building a more connected Canada where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
So it's actually not Talk to Strangers Week, it's Talk to Us Stranger Week. It was like, hey, we want it one at a time. Even if you do one, it's better than none. So we're doing a little editing on the end there. But again, our goal as the GenWell Project, as Canada's Human Connection Movement, is to give people permission, which I heard all throughout the last 2 days. It's all about permission, because when we are given, I think it was Yun Lee when she was talking about kindness, or maybe it was Julie on volunteering, is when we say to people, hey, go out there and do it, and you give them the permission, they're more likely to do it. Surprise, surprise. And it's the same thing with Halloween. So the goal here is we're going to launch this. We're going to do it 4 weeks out. I think we're launching it next Monday. It's going to be all over, well, it's all over our social. It may not be over anybody else's social. We just got money. I'm not sure how much money we'll put behind it. We'll put out a press release. But this is one of those things where I think if every one of us shares this message with our community, understanding the research shows all those benefits. We give GenWell Weekend is about friends, family, neighbors, classmates, and colleagues. And now we can talk about strangers, because not everybody's going to buy into doing strangers. Of course, social anxiety for some people, not everybody's Tony, Richard, or Sam. But the reality is we want to give people permission to use strangers as one possible solution to your sense of disconnection or lack of belonging. So I hope I can get your support on that in just sharing it with your communities. Next slide, please. Next thing I want to just mention to everybody, there's a new campaign coming to Canada in January called Red January. It's been 7 years in the United Kingdom, and the whole concept, and you're going to love this, it's getting people active together. So for 31 days of January, you're encouraged to grab a friend, and when I heard Troy talk about walking and the power of walking, Troy will become a spokesperson for Red January. We've already had a conversation. And so this is a campaign. Last year raised 1.5 million pounds in the UK while they got people active together, and we're going to launch it in Canada. That'll be launching the day after the end of Talk to Stranger Week. So again, love to have your support in sharing this message so that we can encourage Canadians to get active together, because I think when you look at the stats from physical activity and social connection, it's the perfect combination to help push people to, get connected and get active. Face-to-Face February, I'm not sure, we haven't put a lot of money. This was actually a campaign that was created by the students of Centennial College. We've done it 3 years in a row now with their support. They created every aspect of it. So we are now taking it and doing a little more planning behind it. This is actually the basis for our Heads Up campaign that we're trying to do a pilot with Steve and Adam and Kiffer, because we believe that if we can educate students in a tight geography or in a community, and we can give them all the information around social health and give them permission on a campus or in their classrooms to actually talk to each other, that we can have that same impact that we have in society more broadly. Again, all we'd love to ask is, if you have students in your life, if you have people, if you know teachers, if you know anybody, share it. What we do is every day of February, there's a different challenge for people to take one action to build better social health. So it might be talk to 3 strangers. It might be ask a classmate for lunch, go for coffee, talk to somebody in a line, watch a Raptor game. So everything we do is focused on either, a segment of the population, an experience like talking to a stranger. And so every one of these is intended to build on each other to give people the opportunity to get better at the habit of connecting with other people. GenWell Weekends, I think you guys know. The next slide, actually. GenWell Weekends were the original inspiration behind this, which was based on the blackout. Can you go to the next slide? Sorry, Bobby. We do Friday, Saturday, Sunday consciously because it's all about inclusion. Fridays are about schools and workplaces. Saturday and Sunday are about workplaces and schools. And then Saturday, Sunday, people taking that message home with them to say, hey, we need to get connected in our homes as well as in our workplaces. Again, there's toolkits, there's ideas, executions, everything is on our website. We will communicate to everybody. I know a big, even from Kim today, or in the last couple of days, has been, get us the information far earlier than what we've been doing. Now that we have resources, hopefully we can get the hands into people, stuff into people's hands, 2-3 months out so that we can all plan. But just like all the other occasions, this is about repetitiveness. We are coming back every February. We're coming back every Christmas, the first week of every May, the third week of September. And those weekends are selected strategically. Suicide rates are highest in the springtime. So we want to get people connected when they need it most. And we know seasonal transition is when people struggle as well. I know this September was crazy for me. And so we're giving people the opportunity and the excuse to get connected at times when they'll benefit the most from it. But again, we don't care. At the end of the day, I don't even care if you get connected on the weekend, as long as you're conscious about your connections and say, I can't do it this weekend, but I'm going to do it next weekend. These are just artificial deadlines because some people need a deadline to actually make stuff happen. I think I've only got a couple more to go and we'll get out of here. Marginalized Community Grants Program. In January, with this new funding, we're going to be launching a community grants program focusing on communities that are disproportionately affected by social isolation, loneliness, and disconnection. And so when we get that announced, we'd certainly love your support. And Kasley, this is what I needed to follow up with you on, is at the end of the day, I want to get your communities involved with this so that they can benefit, whether it's young people, old people, marginalized communities, whatever it is, cultural, however we see a marginalized community, we want to make sure that we're helping them take the knowledge, take the understanding, the tools, the catalytic moments, and now give them the funds to help make it happen if that's a barrier. And the final one, I think, is our Connected Conversation webinar series. So once a month, I think it's the third Wednesday of every month, Bobby does an interview with another expert in the social connection space. We now have a Facebook group that we're trying to build our community on there. Again, the resources were a struggle up until now, but the whole purpose of that is bringing this community together so you can stay up to date with the latest and greatest information, not our information, but your information and what you guys are doing so that we can share all of it so people know where to go and find the latest and greatest information. Hopefully some of you know I sit on the global board for the Global Initiative for Loneliness and Connection with all the other major campaigns around the world. So I'm getting the latest information on who's doing what and where is it happening, and we can share that through that channel as well. And I think I'm done. Oh, and I just the only thing I'm going to say is because we are sharing everybody else's messages, these are all the dates throughout the course of the year that we do posts, whether it's Valentine's Day and Galentine's Day. The example there would be just remember that these are opportunities for us to connect. But whether it's World Diabetes Day or Anti-Bullying Day or Digital Detox Day, we have the first of every month is actually, we call it Digital Detox. What we're trying to do in highlighting each of these occasions throughout the course of the year is trying to help people recognize that social connection is connected to all these occasions. And I point that out because it's an easy share as we think of how we connect our communities to go, holy shit, diabetes and social connection, as we saw from Julianne and from Kiffer, these are some serious issues that if we don't let people understand it, I think people will continue to take their social connections for granted and not take them as seriously as we do exercise, sleep, drinking water, not smoking, and all those other things. So that is it, I think. Yeah, that's it. All right. Thank you, everybody. As I wrap up 2 days of an incredible conference, I think the most important thing here, and Tony, I think you touched on it, this community is a very powerful community. I am grateful for everybody who had made the time to come and sit here. Thank you, John Coburn. Thank you, John Brewer, for hosting. And honestly, I'm grateful to everybody here. Please know, and I hope, hands up if you're open to a phone call from anybody in this room at any time to talk about social connection or loneliness or disconnection or any of those. At the end of the day, I think we've all been given permission now. This is your community, and it's been a lonely journey, but it's great to know that we've got people around us now, both from yesterday and today. So I thank you. Have an amazing night, and let's stay connected because that's the part of the why we're all here. So I'm really grateful. Thanks.